everyone, welcome back to Drawn by Annie channel. This is me, Annie, and I will be drawing for you today. Grab your tea, coffee and snacks and let's dive into today's video. So a while back I was telling you guys how I got into mobile gaming, and I drew a few of the characters that would represent some players that are of a certain role. If you haven't seen those ones, go check them out. They're on my channel, by the way. I was telling you that I liked the game predecessor back then, but now I haven't played that in a while. I don't know, I just stopped enjoying it for some reason, and the community wasn't as healthy anymore, or at least whenever I tried to queue for a match or two, people just kept going AFK and it wasn't really enjoyable to be stomped on just because we were kind of outnumbered. I mean, we could still try and win 4 versus 5, but it's way harder, especially when people don't know what they're doing fully. So yeah, I kind of stopped playing that one. So my husband introduced me to League of Legends instead. I wasn't into this type of games whatsoever, but apparently I fell for it a little bit. So sometimes I'm playing with him for the teamfight tactics and sometimes for the classical Summoner's Rift, so 5-on-5, the typical MOBA strategy one. But I prefer playing versus bots, don't get me wrong. I'm still a newbie, so I need to learn a lot first because I know how MOBA gaming is so competitive and everything. So yeah, I'm just enjoying the game by trying out different champions. And one day he introduced me to Xayah and Rakan. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing their names correctly, but I like the way that I pronounce it, so bear with me. We tried to go together to a bottom lane, and he was my carry and I was his support. It was so cool to see characters that interacted with each other in game. Like, are you kidding me? Literally everything they do, they kind of react to each other. So if I'm casting skills or if she's casting skills or getting kills, they're like chatting to each other like, did you see that? That was amazing. And it got me inspired so much, and also I felt so much for their designs, like especially Xayah and her rebellious or like a little bit dark, I don't know if that makes sense, but she's like this dark goth girl vibe, the cool and badass one, and Rakan is like this golden prince charming that everybody falls for. Oh my god, I'm just so in love with this couple. Immediately after trying for the first time, I went to look for some other arts and fan arts, and then also watched their introduction cinematic to the game, which is old, but I still loved it. Like, it was amazing. So I couldn't help myself but want to draw something with them. So today I'm going to draw Xayah's portrait, and next video it's going to be a Rakan portrait. This sketchbook spread is going to be dedicated to this lovely couple and me fangirling about them. So yeah, once again I'm starting from the brand new blank paper with my sketch. I don't often do that. Most of the videos that I showcase is coloring and line art, but this is an exception for today. I'm going to sketch out the silhouette of the portrait that I'm planning to draw, and just a little bit of defining of face expression that I want her to have, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be visible as much because of her design and her hairstyle, because it's covering half of her face, but I'm still going to give my best try and capture the emotion on her face like that. Xayah is mostly consisting of triangles and circles, so those are the main shapes that I'm using to sketch out her face and her silhouette. After I'm done with base shaping of the silhouette and the position of the character on the page, I am diving deeper into smaller details. So yeah, I'm defining where are the ears, where her cloak is, and where will be the feathers and all of that. By the way, I really love the idea with the feathers. Although first time I saw her and Rakan, I thought those were ears. I thought this was fur and not the feathers. But then the more I dove deeper into some cinematics and fan arts, I realized those were actually feathers. And it's a little bit difficult for me to visualize and stylize the feathers like that, because I kind of want them to look as the original design, but I can't help myself but think that these are ears. So I kind of draw them with techniques that I usually use for furry ears or tails, but I mean, it still looks kind of like the thing, so I just kept going there. In my own fantasy setting, there is also a race that has ears something like that, but I am used to drawing them with more defined feathery look, so maybe that's the reason that I cannot get over it. But maybe I should actually adapt this idea from how Xayah and Rakan have their ears illustrated. Maybe it's more simplified and actually a better solution for this type of ears. I don't know, I will have to think about it later on. So anyway, after I'm done with the sketching and I'm pretty much happy with the result, I'm starting to land the base colors with my acrylic paint pens. I'm a little bit cautious with how the paint will react to this paper, because I think I only drew with acrylic paints in this sketchbook once, and it was so long ago I don't even remember how was it. I'm just trying to slowly build up the layers, and I'm starting with the skin on her face. Then after that I'm going to mark down the places where I am going to keep it shaded to kind of define the shape and form. After that I'm going to put a little bit of color on her clothing to start building up first layers everywhere. So until that dries, I will start working on a smaller sections on her face again. So yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth here and there, trying to build the layers on her skin and mix the colors and apply shades and then cover shades with base skin color again to kind of make them less contrast. The more I go over this, the smoother the colors look. So I'm just going to build up the shades that I like. So I'm covering over and over with the same colors to play around with layers and shades and try to mix colors and stuff like that. So I'm just experimenting and trying to figure out how I need to work with this medium, because I'm still relatively new to this and I'm working out the technique of my own, I guess. So yeah, don't mind me covering it over and over again. The main thing for me with acrylic paint pens is that I don't have that big of a color choice. If I look at my alcohol marker collection, I have so many colors, so I just use whichever shade I need directly. But for acrylic paints and for paints in general, I haven't really painted in my life a lot, but I know that, you can mix and match colors and you can pretty much make any shade you need if you're good enough with the color theory, but I'm not that good with it because I didn't have enough practice. So now I'm kind of trying to catch up for the knowledge that I didn't receive anywhere, so I am figuring things out as I go. Like, I'm applying pinks and purples and trying to see which shade is right, and if I don't like it, or if I see it's a bit saturated or it's not enough saturated, or if it feels off in general, I'm just trying to find the correct shade by applying another color on top of it. If it's a lighter color, usually it's not fully covering the darker color underneath. So it's basically like applying a lighter layer on top of the darker one and lowering the opacity of this layer. And at least that's what I would do in digital art. But here I'm trying to replicate this exact thing using traditional medium. Yeah, I'm just trying to find the correct shades and colors. Xayah has like a very nice and unique color palette in her design, and I lack the shades in my collection, so I'm just trying to find the correct mixture of colors to make it look as close to the original as possible. But still, I don't think I will be able to replicate the color palette fully because of the limits of the medium that I'm using, but I think that's not a bad thing. It actually gives a little bit of character and definition to the style, if I may. Because whenever I am drawing a fan art of a character that was only represented in a digital world, I have to find a way to replicate the colors, but they are always different. Like if you try to color pick the scan of my drawing and compare it to the palette that is used at the original artwork from League of Legends, it will look very different despite me trying to find the same shades and colors. Is just impossible. And to be honest, I'm glad that it's impossible, because I would very much rather play around with colors and have fun with them than try to copy paste something. I mean, I really love the design in its original form, but I still like to give it a little bit of a tweak of my own, because I'm an artist. That's how I see the world, and that's the way I want to create my art. So this is a little bit of a motivational talk for you. If you're an artist like myself, I encourage you to try and give a little bit of yourself to every piece of art you do, because I think that's the most beautiful thing an artist could do. And since Xayah is more of a darker part in this couple, I decided to make her background also darker one, like a dark brown. It kind of made sense for me because in her logic, she's using a darker coat and she could easily blend in with her dark cloak into the darker environment. But in an art-wise, her design is contrast enough to the brown color, so it would be appearing pretty good. And I've noticed a little cutest detail in their designs is just so amazing. I will let you know about this detail in the part 2 when I'm going to draw Rakan, so you get to see this little detail because I'm going to feature it also on Rakan's portrait. So go subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for part 2. So as soon as I'm done with blending the acrylic paint, I'm waiting for it to dry completely, just a couple of minutes, and I'm starting with my line art, and for that one I'm going to use my brush liner. Even though you can clearly see how the shapes and everything is going on, but without line art it just doesn't feel right, so I'm proceeding with that part as well. And I'm also very cautious with the line art, since for some reason my brush pens don't like acrylic paints, and I tend to smudge my line art if I'm doing it from the wrong side. So I'm trying to work on it little by little and letting these little parts and little lines dry before I proceed with something else. But sometimes I do forget about it during the process, and when I smudge my line art and I see the black splashes on places where they're not supposed to be, I just wait for it to dry completely, and I'm covering the places affected with the same color of acrylic paint, because this medium is very forgiving, and in case something like that happened during your art process, don't panic, just let it dry and start over, because yeah, it will cover it completely. You will not even notice that something was wrong there. And if it's still visible, just put a few more layers on top and the problem's literally solved. Fun fact, I actually came back to this drawing later on and fixed her mouth because I felt it was a little bit off of place, and I just covered the entire thing with the skin tone. I went over maybe 2 or 3 layers because her lips are pretty dark, and I just painted lips a little bit lower and the problem is literally solved. Okay, I'm going to leave you for a while with music on while I work on the rest of the piece. Annie off, music on. And here is the final result. Ta-da! That's going to be it for part 1, so stay tuned for part 2 when I'm going to draw Rakan on the same spread of the sketchbook. I thank you very much for joining me on this drawing video and for listening to my chit chat and my fangirling about this cutest couple from League of Legends. And if you like my work, subscribe to this channel and my other social media. I will be very glad to see you back again in my next videos. Don't forget to wash your cup, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!